Yeah, that was my little alarm there to tell us that we have gone live. Welcome, everybody, to Ring the Bell podcast number 14. I'm here with my co-host, Nathan. How are you, bro?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Not bad at all. Interesting action over the weekend. What did you make of? We're going to start with the John Ryder Jamie Cox fight because this one ended weird.
It's very brief. He got knocked down and then he got up at, it was 9, he got up and the ref just didn't even count to 10 by the looks of it.
So from what I understand, he tried to stand up at 9 and the ref counted 10 and the fight was over before Jamie Cox could put his gloves together. And that to me, it seemed like Ryder really scrambled Jamie Cox. I don't know if Jamie Cox quit. A lot of people said he quit. I think he mistimed the count. I think he was out of it. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he did that on purpose. But it's not a good look for him. You know, I said before the Groves fight, he's too small for 168 pounds. I think he needs to move down to middleweight. Every shot seems to hurt him.
To me, he doesn't seem to have much of a punch resistance from what I've seen of him in his last 2 fights.
Exactly, but I think that's got a lot to do with fighting guys that are 168 pounders when he's quite a small guy. You know, he's not.
Yeah.
I'm going to share the screen quickly. Application window, Google Chrome.
Has he fought most of his career at super middleweight?
Yeah. Some at middleweight and most at 168. I will very quickly flick back over to BoxRec. I will click on Jamie Cox and we can have a little look. Yeah, most of it at 168. He has been as low as 148 and 152 in the past. And you can tell he's just not a 168 fighter. He needs to get back down to 160. I think he could do something there. But as for Ryder, he looked pretty good. Ryder's on a good win streak now, isn't he?
Over Nielsen last, was it Nielsen? Yeah.
Yeah, Nielsen, Cox, and he had the split. I forget he had that split decision against Rocky Fielding that was actually pretty goddamn close. I would love to see that Ryder Fielding rematch. Actually, I think that would be a good fight for Ryder. Yeah, he's an interesting guy because obviously
give him a chance in the rematch, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the weird thing about Ryder is he's lost at British level, but he's also won at the top of British level and some European level. So I look forward to seeing what he can do moving forwards. It was an interesting win for him. An odd stoppage to the fight, but you've got to beat that 10 count. So that's just the way that goes. I'll have a look at the rest of this card quickly. Obviously, Lenroy Thomas versus Joe Joyce. You called this one perfectly. I thought Lenroy Thomas would give him a bit more trouble than that. So for Joe Joyce to go out and do that in his 4th fight was quite impressive. What did you make of it?
I was impressed with him. But Thomas showed no resistance. He showed no will to engage. He seemed scared every minute.
The thing is, Joe Joyce is a monster. Like I don't blame Thomas. Thomas is not a small heavyweight, but Joe Joyce was so much bigger than him. It was crazy.
But the thing you've got to look at is that Joe Joyce obviously needs to be moved to a European fight in his next fight. You know, or someone like I don't know who would you put him in there with next? You need somebody who's durable.
Yeah, I mean, I would pay a lot of money to try and get that Chisora fight. I think that's a good fight.
I think he destroys Chisora. I have to be honest.
Yeah. At this point, but it's still a good. It's a good defense of that Commonwealth title, isn't it? So,
if he gets in there with Chisora, he needs to demolish him. He needs to kill him, basically.
The thing is, Joe Joyce is slow. He's impressing me more and more in every fight, but his style is ugly to watch, and I think they're talking about trying to get the winner of Huey Fury Sexton. I wouldn't put I wouldn't put Joyce in there with Huey Fury because Joyce is too slow for that style of fight. It's all wrong for Joe Joyce. He could catch Hughie Fury and knock him out, maybe, but the likely outcome is that Hughie would dance away from him in that fight.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, I wouldn't put him in that fight. If Sexton somehow pulls off a miracle against Hughie Fury,
do you want to laugh? Do you want to
yeah,
laugh? I was down the pub last night, and the casuals. One of my friends who's a casual was saying that Hughie Fury is rubbish and he will lose to Joe Joyce, and I laughed in his face and said, "You know nothing about boxing."
Yeah, if you actually read the casual perception of Hughie Fury, it's not good. They don't like him because he's not a power puncher. If you're a heavyweight and not a power puncher, the casuals don't really care for you very much. That's the sad truth of it. They only want to see knockouts in the heavyweight.
Well, you're not a fan of boxing then, if that's what you view as soccer.
I know what you mean. They're fight fans. They're not really boxing fans. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. We will move on because there were some other good fights on this card. Martin J. Ward versus James Tennyson. I just had a chance to watch this now. Really good little scrap, this. Martin Tennyson got knocked down in the second. Yeah, it was a good knockdown, actually. And Martin J. Ward was basically just dominating the first 2 rounds. He looked very skillful, slick. He was timing Tennyson coming in. It was good work. But in the third round, even though Martin J. Ward maybe won the third round, Tennyson landed a few shots and got into the fight. And then he kind of took over the fight quite quickly from that point. He blasted him out of there in the fifth, knocked him down twice. And it was good work, good win from Tennyson. Matchroom Eddie Hearn will be sick because Martin J. Ward was their guy. But it was a good fight, that. I think it's the sort of fight that, even though it ended in a knockout, it could have gone the other way. And so we might see a rematch of that fight, possibly, but maybe not next. Not next.
It was a good win for Tennyson. He seems to be improving.
Yeah. I can't remember who I picked to win this fight. We'll have to go back.
Ward.
Yeah, maybe. I think Ward was the favourite, but it was one of those fights on the card where it was pretty 50-50. And so, yeah, it's impressive. I mean, it was a very good stoppage, and I think he can go quite far in that division. He's the EBU super featherweight champion, the Commonwealth super featherweight champion, and now the WBA international as well. So I think he'll have a very high ranking, and he might get a title shot pretty soon. One of the champions they'll think he's an easy defense, but probably isn't. The next fight we'll talk about, Paul Butler, Emmanuel Rodriguez. Now, I don't know if you know this.
Paul Butler was overweight for the fight.
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that. But on the second knockdown, it very much looks like Paul Butler may have pooped himself.
You're joking.
No, if you go back and watch the fight, after the second knockdown, there's a noticeable brown stain around the region that you would expect there to be such a stain if one had pooped themselves. So for him to finish the fight, not only getting knocked down 2 times in the first round, but also pooping himself, is, that shows a lot of bravery, a lot of guts. Paul Butler will probably be back in another world title fight very soon, just for that sheer display of
I'm going to give him
brown panted resilience. That's what I'll call it. Brown panted resilience. Impressive work from Paul Butler.
No, he did all right in the fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. To stay in there, but he got comfortably beat. To be fair, on a serious note, this Emmanuel Rodriguez guy, he looks a talent. We didn't know much about him coming in, but
we didn't know anything.
Not a lot. But I heard some. So Dave Allen had heard rumors about this guy, and he was talking about him on Twitter. So some people knew about him, but yeah, he looks the real deal. I think he can challenge some of the other guys. He's now ranked 4th in the world. The only people above him are Ryan Burnett Jamie McDonnell, and Zolani Tete. So they're all good fights. You know what I mean? I'd watch all of those fights. So it's good. It adds another interesting name to that division. I will definitely be watching out for Emmanuel Rodriguez. If you didn't
I
see
feel
that fight, it's
I feel
worth
sorry
going
for
and
Butler
watching again.
a little bit because he didn't make the weight, and I don't know what his excuses were. I mean,
Sorry about that.
it's
My
another
phone was ringing.
it's another Quig moment, really, isn't it? This one.
Yeah. It's one of those. Paul Butler, he had a virus during training camp, and so that's why he missed weight. That's why he couldn't really train, and that's why he
Should
didn't
he
look
have
too
taken the
good in
fight
the
then?
fight.
Really, if he wasn't
He wouldn't.
100%.
He probably thought he wouldn't get another shot at it. So, no, in an ideal world, no, you shouldn't take the
But
fight. But he
but
had to, I think.
but the thing is, the title weren't on the line. You know, I mean, what's his name? Lee Haskins was the champion. Like this, Rodriguez could have pulled out a fight and just been given the belt, couldn't it?
He could have done, but I mean, it wasn't. It turned out to be an all right fight. So
It was a good
I can
fight. I enjoyed it.
understand why. Yeah, I can understand why they kept it on the card. So now we come on to the big fight of the night, a fight that we both predicted correctly. Tony Bellew, absolutely.
Didn't you forget the other fights? Joshua Butsy.
Yeah, we can mention those
We'll
briefly
do that
if you want
afterwards.
first.
We'll do that
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll go to the main event.
Tony Bellew absolutely rocks David Haye, sends him packing, career over, finito. That was basically my thoughts on the fight. Tony Bellew looked good in there the first 2 rounds. Even though I edged those rounds to David Haye, it looked like Tony Bellew had the right game plan, and he clearly did because in the the next few rounds, he took over the fight convincingly and knocked Haye down twice in the third round, once in the fifth, all over.
But
you know,
when you look at the first 2 rounds, they're very close.
mm,
You could see what Bellew was doing.
yes,
He's
sure.
getting hit quite a lot, wasn't he? In the first 2 rounds, he's getting hit a little.
I think he was trying to draw the sting out of David Haye very quickly, and I think that's what he managed to do. Yeah,
he did. With the first knockdown, you could see David Haye look shocked.
Yeah, by the
then
power.
The second knockdown,
yeah,
he looked shocked. Then it went to the fourth round, and then the fourth round, Haye was trying to get some shots, and it wasn't working. You could see Bellew working into him. Like, have you noticed every time David Haye tried to sling with him, he tried to go toe to toe with him. He didn't look like he knew what he was doing. He was getting outboxed.
Yeah, I think the thing is, because Haye's ankle was still injured, and I did say this after the first fight, it will never recover fully. Even if you get it back to 100% working, it won't be back to what it was before. And so you could see that even in the first 2 rounds, he was carrying his back foot differently than he used to. And then after the knockdown, you could see that bothered his ankle again a little bit. And then he was walking a bit differently. It wasn't as bad as the first fight, but because he couldn't lunge in with his punches, it meant he had to trade on the inside with Tony Bellew. And Tony Bellew is clearly the better inside fighter of the two of them. And so it just, everything went wrong for David Haye. We said it probably would.
Can we make one thing clear? That if this fight had taken place 7 years ago, it would have been a different result.
Don't know. Not sure.
Well, I guess we don't stylistically. I mean, but Bellew obviously was a different fighter 7 years ago.
He was. He didn't have this style now. If you take Bellew now against Haye of 7 years ago, I think Haye wins, but only just. I think it's still a good fight. I think Tony Bellew has proven that his style probably is all wrong for David Haye, regardless of fitness.
Good win. Good knockout.
For sure. And what it does is Bellew now has the most options of any boxer in the world. He can try and bring up Andre Ward to heavyweight. He could fight Anthony. He won't fight Anthony Joshua, but he probably could. Right, but he probably could. He won't fight Wilder, but he probably could. He might fight Parker or Fury. He could go back down to cruiserweight and fight Usyk or Gassiev.
But
There's a lot of options out there for him for big, big
we
money.
need to be realistic. David Haye and Wilder, people like that would kill him, and we know they would. You know, I'm not being funny. They're too big for him.
You mean AJ?
AJ would kill him.
Yeah, I think Fury versus Bellew is interesting, even though
Yeah,
Fury's
that's
big, because Fury's not a power puncher, and we don't know how good Fury is right now because he's obviously been out of the ring for a long time.
but
So
Fury would be too big,
I think
wouldn't he?
he'd be
You know,
too big in the long run, but I think because Fury's not fit right now, it would still make for a big pay-per-view. I think it would be interesting. I think Fury should win that fight, and I think it would be a good. I think it'd be a sensible move. But
I think
obviously
Andre Ward
with Warren
would be a good fight for him. Andre Ward would be a good fight.
Yeah, here's the honest truth. This might get us some downvotes on this video. I actually think Tony Bellew takes Andre Ward's head off. I think he does it early as well because you got to understand Andre Ward has been knocked down in every weight class he's fought in. He has been on the floor. And Tony Bellew is a fucking giant compared to Andre Ward. If you put them next to each other, they look 2 or 3 weight classes different. And so I think Andre Ward would probably win rounds 1, 2, and 3. And then Bellew would just sort of like clinch him and force him into the ropes and just I think it wouldn't be I just think it would be all wrong for Andre Ward because
could you imagine
what Kovalev
is Stevenson won it too.
Yeah, I mean that would be a great rematch, but I don't think Stevenson would go up to cruiserweight because he's got that fight with Bellew Jack, hasn't he?
Yeah.
When is that? That's actually the 19th.
It's about 2 weeks, I believe. 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good fight. That is. Maybe maybe if he loses that fight, a big rematch at cruiserweight with Tony Bellew is a good option for his sort of retirement check. So,
I'd tell you what I'd like to see the 2 fights I'd like to see him in. Usyk, or the winner of Usyk.
Yeah.
Or if not, the winner of Manuel Charr against
Oquendo. Yeah,
I think that's
another funny option because
I think that's his best option.
Yeah, then he can retire as world heavyweight champion.
He beat you. I think he'd beat you.
And Oquendo. Yeah, and Oquendo. I think so. I think they're both too old. Do
you think that fight would be a pay-per-view fight if it was made? It would, wouldn't it? If it was made.
Yeah.
Tony Bellew, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Tony Bellew versus. If it was Manuel Charr, yes. If it was Oquendo, it might be on Sky Sports. But if it was Manuel, it'd still be a great Sky Sports show. But I think it wouldn't. If Oquendo wins that fight, I don't think it's likely that he'd fight Bellew. I think Bellew would only fight the winner if it was Manuel Charr.
But because for the belt, obviously for the fact that it's a belt, it might entice him. That might be enough to entice him.
Well, it's one of those things, man. It's hard to say for sure, isn't it? Really, because it's all about the money now for Bellew. Like he probably doesn't care just about the belt, and so if it's not a pay-per-view fight, I don't think he'd take it. But I think Charr would be a pay-per-view fight.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, let's hope Manuel Charr beats Oquendo, but that's in like 6.
It's too far away.
It's in like 4 months still, so we've got a long way to go on that one. Let's quickly go back and cover the last few fights that were on this card. Some of them I didn't actually catch. Buatsi versus Stefan Cuevas. How was this fight? This is one of the ones I didn't see.
Too bad. He knocked him out in the 5th round, I believe. It wasn't a bad fight. I mean, his opponent was more or less like target practice.
Yeah, that's why I sort of tune out some of these early learning fights for some of these prospects because you know what you're going to see, really. Luke Campbell beat Troy James, and Troy James came in at welterweight, and Luke Campbell was a lightweight. So that's That was a
It's a
weird
good
fight.
performance
Yeah, it
by
was
him,
good,
yeah.
especially to beat someone 2 weight classes above you. I mean, that's weird to to have that sort of fight, you know. But yeah, it was a good win at the end of the day. Jordan Gill beat a guy who was 3-1, and it's like it was a really pointless fight for my money because he won every round easily. He's 19-0, Jordan Gill. He needs to be taking bigger step up fights than the likes of that. Um, and then one other fight on the card, I didn't see this one. Money Powell the fourth, Mark versus
I
Mark
didn't watch it.
Kramastotter. You didn't see that one either, no. I heard from a Baron that Money Powell the fourth is all right. He won. Well, it says on BoxRec here too that he won in a he won from a knockdown. Oh no, yeah, it was a TKO down from a body shot in the fourth round, and it was a good body shot. A Baron was telling me so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'll have to catch his next fight. Some of these prospects, when they're fighting tin cans, I find it hard to turn on the show, especially because sometimes the football hasn't finished yet. And it's
Mm.
like, do I watch the end of the football or do I watch someone knock over a tin can? And yeah, sometimes I watch the end of the football. So sorry about that. But yeah,
Right, no,
I caught most of them. I caught most of them. As for some of the other fights that happened around the world, obviously
Triple G.
Gennady Golovkin, yes, versus Varnes Maratizian. Easy, easy win, right?
Waste of time.
Yeah, it was dumb fight. Dumb fight. I wasn't impressed. I don't really understand why they went through with this fight. Easy, easy win for Golovkin. We all knew that it would go that way, basically. You know, there's not really much more to say on it. I feel sorry for Varnes Matarizian. He was never going to win. At least he got some sort of payday and his name up in the lights for 15 seconds. But yeah, there's not a lot more to it than that, is there?
No.
Sadly. And then another fight I saw from around the world was uh, John. No, we talked about the John Ryder fight. Gary Spike O'Sullivan. He was in a fight. Did you see his fight?
I didn't get the chance. Who was it against?
Oh dear. It was against a guy who hadn't been in the ring for 3 years. Uh,
Oh,
so yeah, there is
he
that.
win.
Yeah, he won with a third round stoppage. I think the guy stopped in the corner. And yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Um, did you have any of the did you see any other fights that you wanted to talk about this
I didn't,
weekend?
but I heard Diego de la Hoya won a fight against Randy Caballero
Mm. I did not
on the
see that
bill of
on
the undercard.
I didn't see that on BoxRec anywhere, but I
It
will
was,
I'll have a look for it.
it was on the Triple G card.
Right, right. I'll bring up the event. That's easy to do. So yeah, so Burkhouse, or Breakhouse, however you say her name, she had a big win. Well, I suppose it was a big win because it was one-sided, but she has all of the belts in that division: the IBF, the IBO, the WBA, the WBC, and the WBO. Breakhouse got knocked down in round 7, but she won on a unanimous decision. So it's an interesting fight, actually. I think, you know, it's not bad for a women's fight. It was pretty decent. I would tell people to go and watch that one if they have not seen it. Uh, Brian Cabello versus Nam Fan. Uh, Jesus. Uh, yeah, there were some weird fights on this card because obviously it was thrown together at the last minute. But Ruslan Medvedev versus Jesus Perez. Medvedev won on a unanimous decision. So yeah, I mean it's weird. I know Dmitry Chudnov was out and he lost in a unanimous decision against.
Again.
Yeah, no. So he lost to Lalenga Mock. Then he came back with a win, but he's lost again to a guy who was 10-0, and this guy
Oh,
was called Azizbek Abdugafurov, but he's from Uzbekistan, and I believe he was quite a well-touted amateur. So he might actually be one to look out for. This guy, Azizbek Adumukstar Ogli Abdugafurov. That's his full name. It's quite an impressive name. So yeah, that card, the Golovkin card, left a lot to be desired. Really, I can't believe they gave the Golovkin Varnes Martirizian fight 4 stars. That's not. Box Rec have given that fight 4 stars, and I'm struggling to see why. So the guy that Gary Spike O'Sullivan beat was Berlin Abrao, right? This guy from the USA. He was born in the Dominican Republic, but his last fight was in 2016 at welterweight, and he was fighting Gary O'Sullivan 2 years later at 160, and he retired in the. He didn't come out for round 3. So Spike O'Sullivan made him quit before round 3. It was a bit shocking, really. That's not a good fight. They can't put Gary Spike O'Sullivan in with GGG or Canelo, can they? He might actually die.
Not really, no.
Like, he might die if they make that fight, right? Like, seriously, remember what Chris Eubank Jr. did to Spike O'Sullivan? And GGG and Canelo are whole different animals to Chris Eubank Jr. They can fight and box, and they'll punish Gary. So, for Gary's sake, I hope that De La Hoya doesn't throw him to Canelo or GGG. That would be a terrible.
Definitely, yeah.
It would be a pasting. It just wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't even sell. Would it sell well? Would it like?
No. Not at all.
I can't understand why they keep talking about it then, because there's nothing in that fight for me. I think it's just bizarre. Yeah, I think that was pretty much all of the fights that happened this weekend. But we did have some interesting news. Tyson Fury filmed Shannon Briggs on the toilet as September a fight agreed on Instagram. So what do we make of this? It's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, I mean, Shannon Briggs, I loved his whole comeback thing a couple of years ago. But now, I mean, his beard only had a bit of grey in it then. But now his beard is full white, full grey. Like, oh, man, it's
I think he should stay retired and just go away, Shannon Briggs, and get someone else.
Yeah. But the fact that they've agreed to the fight is funny, I suppose, because...
I don't think it will happen.
No, nor do I. I think it's more publicity just to keep Shannon Briggs' name somewhat relevant, I think. Tyson Fury best not be fighting the likes of Shannon Briggs. I'd much rather see him fight Tony Bellew in his second fight back. That would be much better, to be honest with you. Did you have
his comeback? Sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, you go.
I don't think he'll fight anyone good in his comeback. It won't be anyone impressive.
No, I don't think he'll fight anyone good in his first comeback, but I think the second one should be a step up. It shouldn't be Shannon Briggs. Let's put it that way. I'm just on boxing scene here. There's not a lot of news other than what happened over the weekend, but obviously I did see something interesting on Reddit the other day, which links back to what we were saying about Ghanaian fighters. Isaac Dogbe was basically ripping into the Ghanaian government for not spending any money on grassroots sports, but boxing in particular. Like, he was... I can quickly go and try and find it, but it's unprofessional to not have it up already, I suppose.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me.
It makes sense. I mean, it's what we were talking about. It's why we didn't really know whether to...
I know some Ghanaian people, and they tell me that it's not really a priority in their country. You know what I mean? Boxing, it's not.
Sure, but I suppose you have many countries where sports are, just shit on a little bit too much and not really taken seriously. Look, he appeals to the government, corporate institutions to support boxing. Ghanaian's youngest world boxing champion Isaac Dogbe has made a passionate appeal to the government and corporate institutions to support the funding of boxing to enable the country to win more laurels at the international level. That might mean medals, I'm not sure. Laurels is like plaudits too, so maybe that is the right word. According to the new WBO bantamweight, Ghanaian boxers are moving overseas to train and prepare for mega fights because they believe there are better opportunities out there than in Ghana. Although the government has promised to renovate the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex and build 10 new sports centres in Ghana, the boxer insists more can be done to enable the country to win more world titles in the future. It's slightly badly translated, this article, because it's from Ghana Web. But yeah, it's interesting because it's something we were talking about. Like, the reason we don't see many fighters from these countries is because there's so little funding for it. But of course, you're also right. Like, maybe it's not a very high priority for the Ghanaian government.
You'd have thought Azuma Nelson, they'd give it to him to sort out, wouldn't Azuma Nelson? Because I believe he's in government over there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a sports complex they're rebuilding. They are doing some work and investment, but it's just, it's interesting to see him saying it because you see less and less Ghanaian African fighters, these days.
Briggs
And yeah. And so it would be good to reverse that trend. It makes for some interesting some interesting fights when you've got different styles and different matchups that we've not seen before. So hopefully, his plea to the Ghanaian government has been heard. Let's put it that way. I'm all for governments helping out with sports and stuff like that. So yeah, it was interesting to see that on Reddit. Did you have any news you wanted to talk about, bro?
That's everything this week, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit short this week. I'll tell you what we could do very quickly. We could very quickly look at what's coming up next weekend, and some of it's incredible. Obviously, Jorge Linares is fighting Vasyl Lomachenko. Big fight, that one. Ray Vargas is in a fight against Azat Hovhannissian, who's it's not a big fight for me, but it's an all right fight. It's an interesting fight for the undercard. Saddam Ali is still in a fight, even though Liam Smith's pulled out. He's fighting a guy called Jamie Mungwe, and this guy's 28-0 from Mexico, but it's really hard.
Mate, I'm going to have to go because I'm about to have an accident if I don't.
Oh, fair enough, man. Well, I'll quickly wrap up on this one and I'll let you go. So no worries.
I'll see.
Oh, yeah. I might have muted you there, man. Sorry about that. It's all good. You can run off and do what you need to do. I'll just quickly mention that this Jamie Mungwe guy, he's been in some average size fights, but it's very hard to get a read on just how good he is. I think Saddam Ali will beat him, but I am actually looking forward to that fight. Maybe a little bit more so than Liam Smith, because Liam Smith sometimes a little bit boring in some fights. So yeah, it's an interesting weekend of boxing coming up. There's also Ismael Barroso in another fight. Haven't seen him in the ring in a little while. Last time I saw him fight was his loss to Crawler, but he has had a win since then against fairly decent competition. So, Barroso is one of those guys. He's got a weird stamina issue, so it's hard to judge how good he can be, especially at his age. So, yeah, some interesting fights coming up. Some fascinating action last weekend. Tony Bellew ending David Haye's career, possibly, hopefully, we don't see him back in the ring. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Peace out, everyone. Have a good one.